This is AB Calculus, the fundamental theorem of calculus homework help. We have a homework assignment given today of problems 1 through 10 from this set, and I'm going to work 3 of these problems out, specifically problems 3, 5, and 7. And I encourage you to try to work these problems out before you see my solution to them. That way you'll get the maximum out of this opportunity to view. And plus I want to touch briefly upon problems 8 and 10, just in the way of a hint. Okay, first problem 3, we have the integral from -1 to 4 of this expression, quantity x squared plus 2x minus 1 dx. And what we're going to do is take the integral of x squared, which is x now squared, second power is raised by 1, and we're going to divide by 3 what we raised to, plus 2 x, it's x to the first power, so make that squared, and divide by the power we raised to, and minus 1 dx, well that's going to be x, and we're going to evaluate from -1, x equals -1 to 4. So what that's going to do is we have a cancellation of 2 over 2, and then we're going to bring down this x cubed over 3. Well, x is 4, so we're going to get 4 cubed over 3 plus this x here is x squared is 4 squared minus 4. And we're going to subtract out. Now subtracting out, I'm careful to put parentheses. In particular, we have negative numbers like this -1. So we're going to have -1 cubed over 3. And we're going to have plus, again we have -1, this time squared, minus -1. All this. And now for a rewrite, and that's going to be 4 cubed is 64. So we have 64 thirds plus, well, that's going to be 16. We're going to rewrite 16 in terms of thirds. 16 is 48 over 3. And minus 4, well, 4 is 12 thirds. Okay, so, and we're going to subtract out what we have here. We have this -1 cubed. Well, that's going to be -1/3. And then we have this plus, well, this -1 squared is going to be plus 3/3. And this minus -1 is going to be also plus 3/3. So what we have left here is 64 thirds plus 48 thirds. 64 plus 48, that's 112 minus 12. So that's going to be 100 thirds. And we're going to have minus, well, this -1 plus 3, that's going to be minus 5 thirds. So that's going to be equal to 95 over 3, 95 thirds. So that's our answer to problem number 3. Let's go on to problem 5. In problem 5, we have the integral from 2 to 3 of 4 over x squared plus 1 dx. So I'm going to rewrite this integral in what I call calculus-friendly form. And maybe you're not going to agree that calculus is ever friendly, but we'll give it a shot anyway. This 4 over x squared is going to be 4x to the -2 power, and that's going to be plus 1 dx. And so now integrating, we have 4 and this x to the negative 2 power, we add 1 to negative 2, and we're going to x to the negative 1, and we're going to divide by the power we raised 2, so we divide by negative 1, plus we have 1 dx, well that's going to be x. And we're going to evaluate this expression from the limits of 2 to 3. And now just continuing to the right, we're going to get this 4 over negative 1, x to the negative 1. Well, that's going to be negative 4 over x. So we're going to have plus 4, or plus x, excuse me. And evaluate all this from, again, 2 to 3. Well, that's going to be, I'm just going to work below here now. We're going to have negative 4 over 3 plus, now we're going to be in thirds, so I'm going to write this x is 3, but I'm going to rewrite that in terms of thirds, so I'm going to rewrite this 3 as 9/3, and then we're going to subtract out, in this case we have negative 4 over 2, and plus, well, this x is going to be 2, right? Well, that's going to be 2, we rewrite as 4 over 2, and I hope you can see that in parentheses here, this negative 4 halves plus 4 halves is going to be equal to 0. So all we have left is negative 4/3 plus 9/3, which is 5/3, which is our final simplified answer for problem number 5. Next and last problem we'll be working out is number 7. We have this integral from 1 to 9 of x minus 2 over square root of x dx. And what I'm going to do is just explain something first. This x over square root of x is just going to be x to the first power divided by x to the 1/2 power. So that's going to be x, it's going to be square root of x, which equals x to the 1/2 power. Okay, so rewriting problem 7, we're going to rewrite this as integral from 1 to 9 of this x divided by square root of x, that's going to be square root of x, or x to the 1/2 power, and this negative 2 over square root of x is going to be 2 x to the negative 1/2 power, okay, and dx. And now integrating this x to the 1/2 power becomes x to the 3/2 power, and we're going to divide by 3/2. And then we're going to subtract out 2, and we're going to have x, now this negative 1/2 plus 1 is going to be x to the 1/2, and we're going to divide this term on the right by 1/2, and we're going to evaluate all this from 1 to 9. Okay, and now this dividing by 3/2 is the same as multiplying by 2/3. So I'm rewriting this division of 3/2 by multiplying by 2/3, and we're going to have x to the 3/2, and then we're going to have this minus, well, dividing by 1/2 is the same as multiplying by 2, so we're going to have minus 4 x to the 1/2 power. And again, evaluating from 1 to 9. I'm just going to continue to work to the right. So we're going to have 2/3, and that's going to be this x to the 3/2. But what that's going to be is, evaluating 9, we're going to have the square root of 9 raised to the power of 3. And we're going to have minus 4. We're going to have square root of 9. Okay, and then we're going to subtract, and I'm going to put in parentheses here. We're going to have 2/3, and this time we're going to have square root of 1 to the 3rd power minus 4 times square root of 1. Okay, now, what that simplifies to, continuing to work to the right, the square root of 9 is 3, and 3 cubed is 27. So we're going to have 2 times 27, I'm just going to put 2.27 over 3, and we're going to have minus 4 times square root of 9. Well, square root of 9 is 3, and that's going to be 36 thirds, 12, right? Minus 12. And we're going to have minus, well, this square root of 1 cubed is just going to be 1. So we're going to have minus 2/3. And then finally we're going to have minus, so that's going to be plus 4, right, times 1. So that's going to be plus 12/3, right? Is 4 12/3? Yes, 12/3. And so continuing to work below, we're going to have 54/3 minus 36/3, and we're going to have minus 2 plus 12, so I'm going to call that plus 10/3. And so we have 54 minus 36 is 18, plus 10 is 28. So we're going to simplify to finally 28/3. So that's going to be our simplified answer. Now problem 8, I'll just tell you that problem 8 should be a recognizable function, a cube root function. In fact, I'm going to briefly sketch what that is. And here we have a coordinate plane, and the cube root function is going to look something like this. Okay. And so we're going to go from -2 to -2 here. So I hope that makes this a lot easier. It's going to be a very simple problem once you figure that out. And finally, problem 10. Okay, we have this integral from 0 to 3 of the absolute value of x minus 2 dx. Well, what you're looking at here is where you have this function x minus 2, which has that y-intercept of 2. So the function is going to come up like this and cross the x-axis at x equals 2. And so this, you have the absolute value, so you have to take this first part of the function from 0 to 2 below the x-axis and make that positive. So what that's going to be is, that's going to be the absolute value of 0 to 2 of x minus 2 dx, the absolute value of this, plus 2 to 3 of 20x minus 2 dx. So those are a couple hints there on problems 8 and 10. Good luck on your remaining problems. I hope you learned something from this, and thanks for viewing.